I have made some terrible decisions out of emotion.
I'm enough to keep learning and growing and going back to the teacher and saying, what can I do to get that better?
I can choose the record that spins.
Everyone is a moment away from exploding. Listen to my glorious voice. What other people say and do says more about them than it says about you.
I knew what to do with my fear. I knew how to deal with that fear and still show up courageous.
You are enough and you are worthy. Oh my goodness, what will people think?
You allowed it to cloud your character.
Welcome, Sara, to the podcast. The first question I would start with is your tagline. Your tagline is lead with character even when emotions run high.
Yes.
So let's start with that. What do you mean by that? Because people are led by emotional takeaways or outrages. How do you come up with that?
So emotions are real. They are 100% of the human experience. You are allowed to feel frustrated and anxious and irritated and sad and embarrassed, and all of those emotions are part of the journey. However, those emotions, you don't want them to cloud the character of who you are as a person. You don't want anxious to cloud that you are courageous. You don't want anger to cloud that you are respectful and responsible. So although the emotion is there, you don't want it to cloud your character. So it's part of the journey, but it's not the sole place to make your choices from on the journey.
Okay.
So my work is really about how do you learn to think and act beyond emotion so you can still make choices that are in alignment with your character of who you believe you are as a person. Having emotional capacity, knowing that two things can exist in the same space, you can feel anxious but still show up courageous. That is an essential skill so that you can continue to be resilient even in the face of not just the challenge, but those emotions that come up.
Awesome. Isn't that the part which makes us human?
The emotions?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's what makes us different than AI, than a
Absolutely.
robot.
Absolutely.
So it's beautiful to have emotions. And really, emotions are information. They're telling you something. They're telling you something you really care about or something you're really concerned about. So you're not trying to get rid of those. You're just trying to learn to navigate them. To say, okay, I'm allowed to feel this, but I also don't want this to be what leads all my choices, because then out of frustration, if I say something or type something, I could be like, oh yeah, this feels good to type this out of frustration. But then if I'm like regretting it later, then I have to look at what am I regretting? Well, I'm not regretting that I'm frustrated because maybe I'm valid in feeling frustrated, but I'm regretting the fact that I typed out of frustration and it didn't show the person I truly am, which is someone who is respectful. And that becomes what you feel guilty about, is just the choice that was made, the behavior out of the emotion, not the emotion itself.
Right. You have a quote on your website that stopped me. It says, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your emotional reactions. Unless you train that.
Yes.
So walk us through what actually that means in practice.
When I look at my own life and I look at my goals, my dreams, what I want, I'll give you one for an example. My son's almost 14. And I want to be a mom that shows respect for myself, respect for others, and respect for my dreams. That's a goal of my character and how I want to present myself. I can easily fall to the level of my emotional state in parenting moments of frustration or irritation. I could still have the goal, but the emotion, if I allow it, can very much take over. We can use a different example. We could use the example of me as an entrepreneur. I want to obtain, for example, making my own podcast. So I want to be determined, put in the effort. However, there can be that feeling of confusion.
Right.
How do I get started? Frustration. That's a lot of work.
Sure.
And if I fall to that and make my choice out of that, I'm not going to go after the goal and be determined. I'm just going to fall to the frustration of, well, I don't know how to get started and it seems like too much work for me.
You were presented to over million people now, if I'm correct. What is the one emotional pattern you keep seeing over and over again in boardrooms, schools, almost everywhere, and that we as a human are clearly not fixing?
You have such good questions, first of all. Really, really solid questions that most people don't ask. So that's awesome. What I'm really noticing is the awareness of the emotion and able to hold capacity for the emotion. So let me break this down. In my learning, and I've done this for over 20 years, so my own personal journey, but also learning from all the people I've interacted with. If you don't grow up openly talking about emotions in your home, if you weren't raised by some parent or guardian that was able to navigate emotions by talking about them, learning how to regulate them, you don't learn it. Babies are born with all the emotions and zero strategies on how to navigate those emotions. So that's why if there's a baby right now in this room crying, you would innately know you have to go over there and help soothe the baby. What might you do? And it's a great question to ask you because you don't have children.
Yep.
So let's pretend that there's a baby in this room. What would you innately think of doing?
Maybe I'll try to play with them, clap, or maybe I'll give them something to play with.
Okay. So you might look for something like, okay, well, here's a blanket.
Yeah.
Or, here's even if clapping's not working, you might start humming or singing. You might go pick them up. Saying, oh, okay, well, maybe they need to be bounced. Maybe they need to be rocked. And you would start to do different things, and we call that co-regulation. You're trying to help the baby find their calm. Are they hungry? Does their diaper need to be changed? Like you're just trying all of these things. Now, as a baby grows up, you want them to learn how to self-regulate, how to find their calm, find their chill when they're having these big human emotions. And if you grew up with an adult that never displayed to you about deep breathing, about knowing to take time to walk away from a situation, knowing that sometimes you need to just get a drink of water, sometimes you need to scream into a pillow, journaling, writing, reading, like finding the ways, then you might not know that there's different strategies on how to deal with an emotion. You might have grown up with someone who just tries to shove them down and keeps saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, you're only supposed to be happy. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then one day it's like, no, I'm not fine. Or someone, you might have grown up with someone who just reacts out of emotion. So they're trying to avoid it. They're trying to suppress it. They're trying to get rid of it as opposed to look at it and deal with it and regulate it in a healthy way.
Right.
So I've noticed that since we have so many of us that didn't grow up openly talking about these emotions that can actually be physically uncomfortable. Anxious, making your heart race, pitching your stomach, your throat feels like it's closing in. If you're just trying to get rid of that emotion because that's what you were taught, just don't be that, just figure out a way to be happy and calm, but you don't know how to get from point A to point B. Then we have a whole bunch of adults that are walking around not knowing how to, be aware of the fact that they're even feeling an emotion.
True.
And to name it. Emotional intelligence is being able to actually put a name to the emotion. Your brain loves categories and labels. And then also be able to notice where you physically feel it. And then how do I navigate it? How do I soothe through it? Because I'm not trying to get rid of it. You're trying to flow with it. And notice it and be curious about it. So I'd say those are the two things. I'm really noticing the lack of awareness that you're even feeling an emotion because you've just tried to avoid the discomfort your whole life.
Yes.
Or that ability or that lack thereof to navigate the emotion. To say, oh, I am feeling this way. I mean, I am actually really nervous right now. But I'm allowed to be nervous because it's natural. My heart's racing. I have butterflies in my stomach, but I have strategies. And I take a deep breath. I'm going to tell my body that I am feeling nervous. And since nervous and excited show up the same way in your body, then I tell myself, oh, it's because I'm excited about something. And then I'm going to be able to ride that wave of emotion, not try to just get rid of it or react and say, I give up. I don't like this feeling. I'm not going to do the thing. No, you can feel nervous and still be brave.
Interesting. I would never think having an emotions in this manner. You mentioned about strategies. So what sorts of strategies? Is it like one strategy that works for all kind of emotions, or it's different strategies based on different emotions, based on different age groups, and basically where you are in your life?
I don't think there's a one size fits all, one strategy fits all. I think it's add as many tools in your toolbox as possible. So you might need numerous amount of strategies for one ocean. Right? I could say, oh, deep breathing calms your nervous system. It brings you back to the present moment. It's something you can control. But deep breathing, you might be like, yeah, that doesn't work for me right now. Or you might be like, hey, I'm going to do the deep breathing, but then I also need to go for a walk. I also need to talk to a friend. I also do need to scream into a pillow. I also do need to have a really good cry. So I really promote writing down a list of strategies that you've learned or that you do find helpful. Do them proactively, because we do so much proactively to train our brain. Like in school, you practice before the test. In sports, you practice before the game. We have to practice. What am I going to do with emotions before it hits? Otherwise, if you're just kind of doing everything reactively, you're not giving your brain a blueprint of where to go to find calm, to navigate the wave. So if you write down your list, deep breathing, that's going to help me. Don't wait till you're emotionally chaotic. Deep breathe when you're calm and you're just sitting somewhere. But you're deep breathing because you're reminding your body, okay, this is what also helps me find my calm, find my chill. And that has been a practice that really works for me. Plus, since my son is around a lot, if I'm practicing these strategies, even subconsciously, he's picking them up. Like the other day, I heard him say to his friend, even though he's not going to sit there practicing as a almost 14-year-old, like deep mindful breathing all the time. He's heard me say it enough, like, oh, I'm just going to take some deep breaths just to calm my body and my brain. I've said that enough times that he was like gaming with his friend, right? And I could hear them, and I hear his friend, man, I'm really frustrated right now. My son's like, well, when you're frustrated, you can take 3 deep breaths. But if I'm not constantly planting that seed and saying it and modeling it, how is he learning?
True.
Right? So if I don't know what to do with frustration and I'm modeling that to him, what does he learn? So this is what I mean when it comes back to what we practice, people are picking up on, especially young people in your life.
True. Is that intentionally that you do?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yes. I love learning about this work because I know the difference it's made in my life over the years, that I'm not just trying to bounce back from challenges like someone doesn't like me, or I say the wrong thing at the wrong time, or growing up, my parents got divorced. I'm not just trying to bounce back from the circumstance that happened in life. I'm trying to bounce back and move through the emotion that circumstance is now triggered. When someone doesn't like me, if something happens that's chaotic in my family and it triggers no emotion, no problem. But the minute that circumstance now triggers sadness, anxious, anger, now I have to navigate that, not just what happened. So that became my work for myself, but also to others. And that's why I created strategies around how do you do that in a simple, effective way. And I've really taken all the work that I've done over the years and all the courses I've taken and all the wonderful messages I've heard from a lot of people, and I filtered into the choice-making formula that I created. So it's not that we're reinventing the wheel. It's that we're saying, okay, how can we make this simple and effective for people who are wanting a tool to say, oh, I want to be able to bounce back and move forward, or I want to be able to be more confident and make choices with more clarity
Right.
and navigate.
Sure. Interesting. Based on your experience, people who need this kind of support, or even it's just to regulate through their emotions, do you think one of the reason is loneliness or not enough socializing?
I wouldn't even be able to know for certain. I think there's so many different factors and reasons. I really think it's for everybody.
Okay.
Because everybody, even if you're surrounded by lots of people, you still have emotions.
Sure.
Even if things on the outside in your life seem to be going so well, you've got the job, you've got the career, but that you still feel like you have anger inside because you've never unpacked that or navigated, how do I work through the anger and sadness I'm feeling, even though I'm surrounded by people, I've got success in my career, so I don't think it's just one factor.
You work with organizations like HSBC, Starbucks, Amazon Web Services, Sunwing, major schools, etc. When a major corporation brings you in,
Mm-hmm.
what is a real problem that they are calling you to solve? And what do you think about that problem? If you can share that.
I mean, there's a couple.
Okay.
There is a lot will bring me in because they want to have stronger relationships, or they want their staff to have stronger relationships and to communicate. Another is they want them to be proactive with their well-being. And they want them also to be able to perform to their highest ability. So my answer to those three are emotions. What are you doing with the emotions that are clouding the performance or clouding the ability to communicate with respect or compassion? And when you can give people a formula that says, okay, look, you're not going to be in control of everything that happens, whether it's in work, in your personal life, in the world. Like, what's all the things that we would love to have control of? Like, you just think about it right now. Like, think about something you don't have control of that you would love to have control of.
I'm not too sure. I can't think of it as of now.
Okay, I'll tell you some.
Sure.
The weather. Would you like to have control of the weather? It could just be how you want it to be?
No. Because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. But so many people are like, I wish it wasn't raining. It was my wedding day. I wish it was sunny. Or I was supposed to go eat with my friends, right? So there could be that. There could be things going on in your family. Right. I know for me, there's certain family members I wish I had control over their choices. I wish I sometimes had control over whether someone heard me the way I want them to hear me, or their judgment. I don't have control over anything other than me. And when you look at all the things you don't have control of, and you put energy into, I wish I had control over this, I wish I had control over that. Okay, but you don't. You have control over you. How you act, how you react, how you respond, what you choose to believe about your own self, your own body, your own talent, your own world. Hence why I call my company You Power. You Power Inc., which is you have the power to choose action, reaction, belief, regardless of circumstance.
True.
And we say all the time, be respectful. In a world where you could choose to be anything, choose to be kind. I've even seen that on a bumper sticker. We want people to have integrity, want them to be responsible, want them to be caring, compassionate. We love that in society.
Right.
In companies, in family, in sport. So now I got to think, it was like, okay, so then what makes that difficult? Right? What makes that difficult? If you're not in control of every circumstance, and we know that, you're not in control of other people, and if everybody likes you or invites you to everything, but you're in control of how you act and how you respond.
Yes.
They want to just make kind, caring choices, respectful, determined choices, no matter what. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What makes it hard? Emotions. Because a circumstance happens, then it can trigger an emotion. Disappointment, because it's not going the way you want it to go, or the person's not treating you the way you want to be treated. Frustration, sadness. Sadness can quickly turn into anger. And then out of those emotions, it is harder to be kind. Like when you are feeling sad and angry, it is harder to pick up your phone and type with kindness. And in the moment of feeling angry, you could be completely justified to be like, no, I'm saying the thing. No, I'm typing it right now. No, yes, I am going to bold it. Yeah, I'm going to bold it. I'm going to bold it in red. I'm going to tell them everything I've ever thought of them. And then you type it out, and then you press send. And then there can be that moment where you're like, oh, shoot. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I didn't do that. Or I should say it that way, post it that way, type it that way.
Right.
If I go back in time, I'd redo that choice. Well, why do we have that moment? Because the choice you just made was out of emotion, and it felt good out of frustration to bold it in red and tell them everything you've ever thought. But in reflection, you regret it. You feel guilt about it because it's not in alignment with your character of who you believe you are as a person. That if that email went viral and had your picture beside it, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's not who I am. That's just how I felt in the moment. So we go back to maybe you were justified to feel that emotion, but out of that emotion, you allowed it to cloud your character. And you regret it because it's not showing who you believe you are and how you want to show up to the world and yourself. So this becomes a big deal for companies, but also just for families, of how do I know that the emotion I'm feeling is 100% allowed? You're going to feel angry, you're going to feel sad, frustrated, but you want to practice, what do I do with that emotion in a healthy way so I can hold capacity for it, knowing that I can also physically feel it, but I'm going to make a choice that shows my character of who I am. Because I bet you that same person that has typed out of anger and pressed send has also felt angry, but spoke and typed with respect.
Okay.
So that two things can exist in the same space. You could feel the emotion you're feeling, but still show up respectful, determined, brave. That is a skill. It's an essential skill to practice. So then when you bring this to people and you bring this to organizations, businesses, when someone knows what to do with their emotion and they know how to navigate it, it allows them to make choices with more clarity. And then that is relationship building. Because instead of me just out of frustration talking to you, and you're like, whoa, I can feel frustrated, but know still how to talk with respect. I still know how to be determined, even though sometimes I get really, really nervous or frustrated. And that's the skill that I'm bringing.
On my desk, I have 3 words. It says situations plus your reactions becomes outcomes. And this has been there for probably 4 or 5 years now. Until I realized it took me like a couple years to understand what exactly does it mean and how do I actually control myself in those situations in order to not have some outcomes that I would never live with.
Right. And so emotions are a reason for behavior. They're not an excuse for it. But if you know that it's a reason, if you can look back and say, and be reflective enough to say, oh my gosh, out of that emotion, that's why I made that choice and I didn't like the outcome of how I spoke. Or you look and you say, oh, I really like the outcome. What did I do there? Oh, I knew what to do with my fear. I knew how to deal with that fear and still show up courageous. Being able to be reflective is great because life's not about perfection. You're not always going to hit the mark every time. Sure, I do this work for a living, have for over 20 years. There's still times I'm like, whoa, Sara, you totally let that emotion take over. But if you can reflect, then you can also redirect and say, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I actually want to be? And I always use my character to redirect me. I always go back to that I want to be a respectful person to myself, others, and respect my dreams. And that becomes my GPS.
in my case, I usually have a tendency of if something comes up and I not agree with that, I have a tendency of water it down or delay the response. That's what I do. And that helps me to come up with a better solution or a better answers. In that way, I do not carried away with emotions based on that. What else can I do?
That's a great one. I picture it like a pop bottle. So picture you have like a bottle of 7-Up and you shake it.
Yep.
With a lid on. What's going to happen? The carbonation, it gets tighter and tighter. You keep shaking. Picture that emotions. A lot of people take off the cap in that moment.
True.
Which is open their mouth or type.
Yeah.
What comes out? It's just a whole bubble over carbonation of like that suppressed carbonation, but I'm referring to it as emotions. Now, picture the same thing. You're shaking that bottle of It's getting shaken. It's getting shaken. It's almost going to explode. But you don't take off the cap.
Yep.
You walk away.
Yeah.
You take that moment. You have that gap between reactive. You become, I'm going to take a moment, take a beat, take a pause. And then when you come back, instead of reacting, you're responding. But what has happened when you leave that bottle of pop unopened? Is it still so fizzy after? We take off the bottle. Say you left it for even 15 minutes, maybe an hour. You take off the cap then. What happens? Does it explode?
No.
No. But there's still some bubbles there.
Sure.
So there's still, but it's not in that stage of now it's going to become, an eruption.
True.
And that's a good visual for me because then I can see it for what it is. Emotions are like that bubbled up bursts of chemical energy. And that's why you do want to respond in the moment. Because you're like, oh, this is going to feel really good. I'd take off the cap. There's going to be a release. But then when you have guilt to regret, it's because it's like, oh, shoot, that's not who I want to be.
Yes.
So if I can practice taking that pause, letting the bubbles fizzle down, letting the emotional bubbles fizzle down, that is going to allow me space so I can respond, not become reactive.
Right.
So good on you. I think that's a powerful strategy because most people want to respond just in the minute because it feels good instantaneously.
Yes.
But doesn't often get you the outcome you want.
Never.
Yeah. So there you go.
And that is not in my experience.
No, either.
And I have made some terrible decisions out of emotions.
Oh yeah.
So another strategy that I usually that helps me to understand what my relationship is with the other person and how that will impact if I say something out of emotions. So that's another thing that I look up most of the time. So either I wait for a better time for me to answer the questions, or I just see how that will impact my relationship.
See, this is the art of relationships and communication because you're also reading the other person. And that's a skill. Being able to look and say, oh, this isn't going to land well. Or when you're talking to someone and you notice that they're responding in a way where you're like, oh, I can see it's not being, the information's not being received the way I was hoping it would. That allows you to pivot.
Right.
So that shows you're mindful in your engagement of conversation with someone, that you're not just talking to talk, that you're talking for it to be heard.
Sure.
So that is very much a mindful practice, looking at the other person and saying, oh, how is this actually landing? Because you can say everything you want to say, but if that person's not hearing it the way you want, then what's the point?
Exactly. Before we move forward, how do you define emotional intelligence?
So this is going to be my personal definition, is the ability to be aware of an emotion in yourself, also in other people. So the more you can notice them in yourself, you notice them in other people, but also to be able to know where you physically feel it. So you're naming it, you're noticing it, and then you're also able to manage that emotion. So it's not just about the intelligence to name it and to notice it. It's also the intelligence to say, I have this emotion because I'm a human being, and I'm going to learn how to ride this wave of emotion because it's information, it's telling me something. And I think that is the most powerful strategy you can have, especially when it comes to relationships, that with yourself and other people.
Let's go back to the foundation, all the way back when your mom enrolled you in motivational course at the age of 11. Most of the people are like playing outside at that age.
Yeah, I didn't want to go.
What was she seeing you that made her to do that?
My parents got divorced at that age, and there was a couple students in my class making fun of me a lot at that age. And I took that as an impact on my worth. And that wasn't even a conscious choice. That was just how I was seeing the world around me. I'm not enough. These things are happening. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not. And my mom could see that. And so she started to enroll me into a lot of character education courses, mindset courses, leaderships. She was also on her own growth journey after my parents' divorce. So that became an extension. Her growth journey became mine. And like I said, you model to your kids what you want them to learn. Don't worry your kids not listening to you. Actually worry they're watching you. They're watching, how are you dealing with stressors? How are you moving through circumstances? How do you deal with anxious? How do you deal with anger? How do you talk about people when they're not in the room? That's what they're watching. And I didn't want to go, like I said to you. I would be like, no, I don't need to go. I got a good head on my shoulders. Right? That's what I always say. Because, especially as I was getting to be a preteen, a teenager, and I'm still rolling in these courses. And then I started to, I'd fold my arms because I'd sit there sometimes like, yeah, I don't need this. And I started to realize that there was tools that you could use in your own brain. That it wasn't just life was happening to me. I was part of the journey because I could choose how I perceived what was happening. Perception is massive. Even when somebody gives you feedback, are you perceiving it as they're trying to hurt you or they're trying to help you? And that will directly impact how you emotionally feel, how you respond. I got to see that even though I didn't have control over things that were happening, whether it was my parents' divorce or the people at school, I could choose what I made it mean about myself. Do I make it mean I'm not enough? No, how about this? They're on their journey. Yeah. It doesn't mean that their words don't hurt, but that doesn't have to define me. I can choose what I believe about myself. I can choose the record that spins. I was also a singer-songwriter, so I started to write a lot of songs around this message. I have one called Up Wars Myself, because that's exactly how I felt in certain parts of my teenage years. Another one called Doesn't Mean Much, which was about people are going to have their opinions. But that's no opinion, doesn't mean much. Not till you say it does when it comes to your body, your talent, your life. And the work that I was doing that I didn't want to do, because I started to love doing.
Right.
And what I mean by the work I was doing, I mean what my mom was making me go to.
Okay.
Then I started to like it. And then look what I do to this day.
Yeah.
I've developed programs where I've been going into schools, working with educators, parents, athletes, corporations on emotional resilience, mindset, confidence. It's been connecting the dots, looking backwards, not forwards, which that's how we love to do things. Like, I'm going to do this, going to this. But now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that thing that I did that my mom said I had to do.
Yeah.
I'm actually thankful for.
Absolutely.
I'm super thankful for. And then it's an ongoing journey. And there's been a lot of self-healing, and there always will be.
Wonderful. All those courses and training is now foundation. And that all adds up to your experience.
Yes, very much so.
You talked about dealing with your parents' divorce, low self-esteem, the death of your dad, and your singing dream being challenged every now and then. All before you were actually an adult,
Yes.
if I'm not wrong. Which one of this hit you the hardest?
Oh, my dad's death. Yeah. So he died when I was 21. And it was a massive impact to my life because I realized that was my first real encounter with that someone that you are close to, that you love and care about, can die. Like I heard about it, and you see, and there's other people that passed away before my dad, but not the significance my dad had in my life. Is that I couldn't make him stay. I couldn't make that go away. That was that death is part of life. That there became this realization, not you can say bye to somebody and that could be the last time. And so that was a big impact. Now, that being said, even though there was a lot of ups and downs in my grief journey, when I look back, what it's taught me is that since you don't know the timing of everybody's journey and how long everybody has here on this earth, that to be grateful. And I don't think of it in a way that's like it holds me back from living because I'm worried about death or I'm worried about other people dying. I actually have looked at it in a way that has me live fuller, that has me love fuller, bigger, because I always think this could be the last, but not in the last out of fear, a last out of love. It's expanded my ability to take in the present moment.
It says time is the best healing medicine. How did you actually move through it? Was it time? Like, did you give enough time to process that? To have that actually realize that the person you love is no longer around you?
Oh yeah. Time brings a bigger gap between the initial impact, for sure. I found year 5 to be really hard. You know what it was about year 5? I think there was like a lot of survival mode at first and a lot of like, oh, I'm going to call my dad oh, no, I can't. Oh, I want to ask him that question. Okay, well, he died with the answer. Like, I can't. No. That was the weird part. Whereas like, okay, I can't just call them up and say the thing or do the, and then over time you get used to that part, but it doesn't mean you miss them any less. I think I just got to the point where I realized over time that I have work to do here. He's done. I'm going to see you again. I'm going to see you again. And you're with me in a very different way. And sometimes you just miss the physical way. But I still have work to do here.
You tried out Canadian Idol, and for 2 years, fear stopped you. The third year, when you actually went through, the judges told you that you couldn't sing and you should do something else.
Yes.
That is a brutal moment. Majority of the people either break out from that, they switch their path, but you didn't do that. What happened in that moment to you?
I cried.
Okay.
Screamed into a pillow, vented to my mom, journaled about it, talked to my dog. I did all the things. And out of the emotion of complete embarrassment, frustration, confusion, disappointment, I wanted to give up. So as I talk about, from emotion to choice, out of the emotion of embarrassment and sadness, my choice is, they're right. I should do something else. Plus, I've been internally judging myself for many years. So maybe I'm not good enough. And they're just solidifying that. But then I went back to, if I'm someone who respects myself, others, and my dreams that I wrote on a piece of paper years before, like that's my end goal. That's my end result. Just like you type into a GPS your location and it helps guide your choice, my location is respect for myself, others, and my dreams. So after I had a good cry, my mom let me be, then she's like, okay, now what? Now what? Are you going to give up because of this? Or are you going to respect yourself and your dreams and do it anyway? And I was like, I feel like giving up. To be honest, this isn't fun anymore. I don't want to do it. But why I wanted to give up was out of the emotion. And if I looked at, if I'm respecting myself and my dream, then regardless of their opinion, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to put in more effort. And it's interesting. So my mom, she did a lot of work with Alzheimer's Society because my grandpa had died of the effects of Alzheimer's disease many, many years ago. And she was at a conference or an event, and this woman with early onset Alzheimer's disease stood up and was talking about her journey. And so my mom thought, I'm going to go talk to her afterwards. So she did, because my mom's a very curious person. And she's asking her questions, and she said, I'm going to just ask you one question. What's one thing you have left to do in your life before Alzheimer's completely takes over? She said, I love music, and I've been struggling to write a song for my kids of what I want to say to them, what I want to leave them with. And my mom had this Oprah aha moment. She's like, I know who can write you your song. I'm going to bring my daughter to you. Okay, so you can imagine that I'm just in the Canadian Idol thing. I'm down in the dumps, all right? My mom comes home so excited. And if you know my mom, she can get easily excited. Yelling, Sara, come, come to the... Well, I'm moping, right? I come to the top of the stairs and I'm like, what? And at this point, I'm just annoyed at her excitement. And she's like, there's this woman, she has Alzheimer's disease, and you can help her write a song. So I'm like, I don't like the idea. No, like this is not helping me feel any better. So you have to have a picture. So remember my mom who got me into all the courses said, you have to go. She actually used to say, you don't have a choice, you're going. And I'd say, have a tantrum, and this would be her response every time. She'd say, yeah, you do have a choice. And I'd be like, phew. She's like, you can choose what pants you wear. That can be your choice. So choose the pants and get in the car, we're going. I'm like, oh no. So that was the kind of thing this time. She's like, just get in we're going. And I sat, and she's like, we're going to Paris. I'm thinking, okay, great. Paris, Ontario. Didn't even know it existed. Okay. So we're in the car, we get there, and I'm still like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe, what are we even going to talk about? She got early onset Alzheimer's, I don't know what. The most fascinating conversation I've ever had with another human being, instant connection. I ended up writing down her story, taking it, going to other friends that are co-writers. We ended up writing a song called One More Memory. We ended up recording it at the best studio you could in downtown Toronto, getting the Toronto choir, who usually doesn't do anything like this, getting them to back it up. It turned into a big thing, sold thousands of copies of it, made a huge impact for this lady and her family. Then we started getting offered to go to places, Ireland, Greece, Romania. It became such a healing journey for me. My dad had passed away not too far before the Canadian Idol experience. So writing this song and then traveling with, her name is Brenda Hunem, was incredibly healing. So luckily I did get in the car where my mom said, get in the car.
Yeah.
I've learned she's got a few good ideas.
Most people would have walked away from singing after that, and
Yeah.
you still stayed there, and apparently the reason is your mom,
Yeah. Well,
and that's your
she's-
biggest motivator. What does those kind of moment teach you now about not giving up, or the difference you make in someone else's life versus you just quit and do something else?
People are going to judge you no matter what. No matter what.
True.
People are, you could be the nicest, most respectful, determined, good-hearted person, and someone will be like, I don't like you. Or they'll post it under the podcast, or they'll
Yeah.
post it. They're going to judge you no matter what. So get super okay with other people's opinions or just that. Other people's judgments are just that. But you get to decide what comes to your heart. You get to decide who you are and whether you believe in yourself. And the minute you believe somebody else's negative critique and judgment, you now have agreed with them. So there's ownership on you at that point. And that's good news, because then you can disagree with it and say, yeah, you can critique me, you can judge me, you can not like me, but that says everything about you because I know who I am. And I say this to my son, and I say this when I'm working with students all the time. What other people say and do says more about them than it says about you.
True.
And when you agree with negative, critical judgments that you know aren't true to who you are, you've just allowed your power to be put in somebody else's hands and opinion. So then I go back to, if I'm respecting myself, others, and my dreams, if that's, again, my GPS destination, what will I choose to believe? I will choose to believe that even on the hard days, even on the days I make mistakes, even on the days I'm completely judged or not liked, I'm still worthy. You're born worthy. Your worth does not depend on everybody liking you and everyone agreeing with you and everything going your way. Your worth is whole. Even on the hard days, remembering that you're enough is the most powerful gift you can give yourself. It allows you to show up for yourself, but then also allows you to show up in the world for others. The minute you question your worth, and I've been down this road, am I enough? Do I have enough? Do I do enough? I'm not enough. Their opinion means I'm not enough. I can't sing enough. I can't, enough already. Nothing brings you joy if you don't believe you're enough. Like, what if your worth is not dependent on always getting everything right all the time? Because that's not going to be possible anyway. Everyone always liking you. Stuff, money, the house, or whatever, that you're born worthy. That is the most amazing, incredible, powerful mindset you could have.
It's the same thing about being wealthy, not with money, but with the relations and with the satisfaction that you have with yourself.
Yes. Because the minute that it's attached to something outside, like I'm worthy if I make this amount of money, I'm worthy if I have these stats, I'm worthy if I have these marks, I'm worthy if this many people like me. You've just put it on things completely outside of yourself, because you can't control whether everyone likes you or not. Or,
True.
you can't control even sometimes certain grades you might get, because it's the teacher's perception of your English exam to a certain degree. So when you're constantly attaching your worth to something outside yourself, you're not in control. If you attach your worth to, look at, I am enough, I'm born worthy, it means that even if I don't get that mark, I'm enough to keep learning and growing and going back to the teacher and saying, what can I do to get that better? You don't like me? Okay, I like me. So I'm going to find people who like me for me. Maybe you're not my person, and that's okay. I'm enough means you're enough to keep learning, growing. Not that you can become complacent. Like, I'm enough, I don't care. No, it's I'm enough that I'm allowed to take up space and own my space. And I'm enough that I can lift other people up. Because when you don't believe you're enough, it's hard to even find joy in anything because you're constantly questioning. And I've been down that road.
Right.
Constantly worrying and questioning. And I used to think that confidence was outside me. Like, if they liked me, it meant I was likable. And if you all like me, then I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be more confident. But then you can get all those people to like you and still have that hole inside of you because you don't actually like yourself.
Right.
That becomes the journey.
At the age of 18, you were performing music at a school, and student just started asking you about life challenges, all those things that you were going through your life. What was it about that specific moment that made you realize your voice was meant for more than just music?
That story goes back to me singing at a mall with my producer. So I was a singer-songwriter that took character education courses and also got into public speaking around age 10 or 11 because my teacher thought I'd be really good at it. And when I was speaking at that mall, when I was about 19, a principal asked me, can you come to my school and let the students ask you questions about how you got to record that album, sing for the Blue Jays, different things I had done musically. And I was like, okay, feel the fear and do it anyway, because I was absolutely terrified. Because my greatest fear was being judged and not being liked. Like, this work I do is work I do on myself. And I stood in front of the assembly, and it was, I'm not that far off the grade 8's age, because I'm 19 at the time, and they're 14. And I was singing, and they're asking me a little bit about music, and then it went full blown into like, what's your home life like? What kind of challenges have you faced? And so I started to pull out tools from my toolbox of the character education stuff. And I realized in that moment that music was going to be a vessel of how I communicate, but it wasn't going to be my sole purpose of how I communicate. That there was going to be speaking, there was going to be character education, and there was going to be music. And that I can use all of these intertwined. And then I kept building on that, and then I created U-Power presentations.
Awesome. Do you think it's a dual threat? Usually people pick one of them. Either they pick music, being a singer, or being a keynote speaker.
Most, yes.
And you have a blend of both. I have been to your event, and that works wonders.
Thank you. I think people get afraid.
Okay.
Because I even in the corporate, they're like, my speaking colleagues are like, don't sing. You're going to terrify people. They'll be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I didn't for a bit in the corporate realm. I was like, oh yeah, maybe and I'm like, no, I'm talking about vulnerability, discomfort, leaning into emotions. So the music, and I don't always use it corporately, but I often do, and it makes sense because it's the perfect tool to say, who here has ever not done something, shared an idea, shared an opinion or a talent because you were so afraid of, oh my goodness, what will people think? Well, people think, what if I make a mistake? What if I look ridiculous? And then you don't do the thing. Well, they all raise their hand. So then I can use singing as, look you're going to judge me. You're going to instantly be like, she can sing, she can't sing. She hit that note, she didn't hit that note. I like her music, don't like her music. But if I'm sharing with them a formula about looking at emotions, but making a choice out of your character, having capacity for you can feel nervous, but know what to do with nervous, know that your racing heart is just part of the journey. You can take a deep breath and still choose brave, then I've got to show them.
True.
Because I go back to, you're going to judge me no matter what, so you may as well judge me for exactly who I am, and I'm also a singer. And that's why it works wonderfully. Because I'm not singing being like, listen to my glorious voice and you are going to, I'm using it as a different tool. Now, when you come up afterwards and you love the music, bonus.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it doesn't matter because that's not the point of the singing. The point is to say, where in your life could you lean into discomfort and choose courage anyway?
Right. It's a wonderful tool that you have, because music is one of the way most of the people can connect, even though they can't understand the lyrics, but they can still resonate with the music that you have.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
that's wonderful tactics. Talking about tactics, I want to get a little practical. When you're emotionally vulnerable and the pressure is high, how do you actually control the urge to lose it, give it to the frustration, or take your anger out on someone else?
You have to practice.
Okay.
You do. It's again, you can't wait to use deep breathing, and the only time you use it is in the heat of a tough emotion, because your brain in stressful situations defaults to what it's comfortable with and what it knows. So if you're always been someone who reacts, your brain will go back to just to react. Especially if you were modeled emotional reaction as well growing up. You have to consciously create a new wiring. So what I like to do, even with my son, is role play something out, even when you don't need it at that time. And again, we do this all the time in sports. You wouldn't take kids just to games. The coach you come to practice because they want to simulate game time strategies that need to be learned. Well, you do that proactively so that when they're in it during game time, they know what to do. We need to do that with emotions, because look at how many times throughout the day you will be triggered to feel a wide range of emotions, from anger to sadness to happy to joy to frustration to calm to anxious, and you could be all over the place.
Right.
But if you're not doing anything to set up a muscle memory for your brain of like, okay, I have strategies. Like even when you're driving, if you're listening to this podcast, practicing deep breathing, even if you're not frustrated, even if you're completely calm right now. And the science behind, the research behind even doing 10 minutes of mindful meditation each morning, it's not because of that 10 minutes. It's because it sets your brain up to know what to do and how to find a calm and chill. That was one of my favorite pieces of research. So I did a course from Yale University called The Science of Well-Being. And the research behind 10 minutes of mindful meditation was massive for when it comes to regulating yourself even throughout the day.
Sure.
You've got to do it proactively and also reactively. Like when you've really reacted and you're like, I'm not happy, you go back and you say, okay, what emotion was I feeling? Okay, I was frustrated. Where did I feel that? Oh, I felt it like in my head and my fists, like I was driving, I got really tense. Okay, what could I do with that emotion next time? Practice that out, because this is how I want to actually show up. And we do this all the time in many areas of our life, academically and in sports and in jobs. We got to do that with emotions.
Your entire system is built upon 3 E's: emotional awareness, emotional management, and emotional resilience. Most people think they already have this. Why don't they?
Many didn't grow up with parents and guardians actively modeling it or talking about it. When I'm working with adults, I say, who here was ever told when you were feeling a big emotion, well, if you're going to be that upset about it, get to your room. Come out when you're happy. That's how I deal with you best.
Yeah.
It's easier to deal with a happy kid. You know, if my son's happy, that's easy. But the minute he's frustrated or disappointed, now I have to deal not just with his frustration and disappointment, but now the emotions I'm feeling around his frustration and disappointment. Maybe I'm frustrated. Maybe I'm feeling irritated. And now I've got to manage my own emotions and help him manage his. And that in itself, that in itself is tricky. So I think many people think, oh yeah, no, I have that, until you're triggered. And kids are very triggering. They'll show you everything you thought you had together that's not.
Yeah.
Like, you're all fine and dandy until they come home with a big emotion and you're like, are you kidding me right now? Do you know what my day's been? And I think we do that even in the workplace, because parenting is a leadership role. In the workplace, you're in many leadership roles. And then you can be easily triggered by other people around you, or by something that's happening outside in your personal life. So I think a lot of us think we have it until something happens and you realize, oh my gosh, I do fly off the handle. Or, oh my gosh, I am such a people pleaser. I suppress everything. Like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I was all about just look a certain way, be a certain way. I don't want you to be disappointed because I can't handle the emotions that I feel when you're disappointed. And I can't set up a healthy boundary and follow through with it if you're disappointed, because now I feel guilt. Like, I had to work through all of that. My mantra is, your disappointment's not my guilt.
Right.
So it's a journey. It's a journey.
There's a difference between suppressing the emotion versus managing it. And most people are doing one when they think they are doing the other. How do you tell them a difference, or how do you tell them apart, and how do you actually shift from one to other?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that some people think that managing their emotion, they're managing it, but really they're suppressing it.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people that are like, ugh, you're going to talk about emotions? Not me. Not me. Why? Why do you ask? Because I don't need to. Because I don't deal with my emotions. It's a gift. I've been not dealing with my emotions. I've been raised by people who don't deal. I've been just shoving down my emotions. I just shove them down, shove them down, shove them down. Like in my big toe. I like put like a rug over them and furniture. I don't deal with my emotions until one day your emotions will deal with you. Everyone has an emotional bandwidth, emotional threshold. Everyone's could be different. But we don't want to pretend that emotions are about shoving them down like they don't exist, because they will come up, or they'll just manifest themselves somehow in your body. The science behind emotional stress and your immune system, just do some research on that. It's huge. We're learning more and more about emotions and the energy that they actually have, even in our own cells. People that suppress emotions instead of manage them, I think how they would know is you start to physically be drained. You're physically overwhelmed. You're mentally overwhelmed. Like these are all things. Like that headache that you're getting, your racing heart might not be because you're sick or because you're hungry or because you need to. It could be because you are so emotionally stressed out. You have never even done a check-in with yourself. And it's one thing if you ask me how I'm doing and I say I'm fine, because I don't want to engage in the conversation with you. Maybe I don't want to have it right now. Maybe I don't trust you enough to have the conversation. I don't feel comfortable, whatever it is. I say I'm fine. That's one thing. But to walk around telling my own self I'm fine when I'm truly not fine, I've completely disconnected from my own self. And then you're giving your brain not accurate information. So you're telling your brain you're fine, and yet actually you're feeling nervous, frustrated, anxious. Your brain needs to know that, needs to have that piece of information, because it likes to categorize, it likes to label. Dr. Dan Siegel did a lot of research on emotional awareness, and he found through his research of the brain that when you can actually put a name to the emotion, I am feeling frustrated, now your brain sees as information, and he coined Name It to Tame It, which is through the research I saw through the brain, that when you can name the emotion, it actually helps in the calming, taming process, because now your brain's like, oh, it's information. So what if you looked at emotions as information, that anxious emotion is just telling you something? Plus you need all these emotions, but you just need to be able to be aware and control them so that they don't control you and sabotage all your choices. And I think that that's really the shift that we're noticing. You're not bad and wrong for feeling what you're feeling. You're not weak and incapable because you feel sad and nervous and anxious and frustrated. It means, oh my gosh, you're human. Good. Now, the skill is, and this is what I love working with people on, is how do you be aware and navigate and use your emotions? Like, for example, ever been so frustrated that you actually got more determined to do something? Like out of frustration,
Yes.
you turned it into drive. But then someone else could turn frustration, say, I give up, done. Both are available. You can use frustration into drive, or you can use frustration into I give up.
Yeah.
And giving people tools on at least being aware, so now you have options. But when your emotions take over and you have no awareness, you almost feel like life is just happening to you and it's so overwhelming and you're just exhausted. Hence why so many people are walking around emotionally drained, or everyone is like one moment away from exploding.
Right.
Because they're just like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Like, it's like, you said that one thing to me, you cut me off, my child's in hockey and and it's not the thing. It's not like it's not your kid's not getting enough ice time and there's other things, but that's
Yes.
that moment where you just become unhinged because you've never done check-ins. You've just said, no, I'm cool, I'm fine. And then,
Right. If someone has to do study on it, not a comprehensive one, but kind of a crash course, what would you suggest the first step? Is there a book that they can start with? Is there a
so
course?
yes, okay, there is a book by Mark Brackett, and it is called Permission to Feel.
Mark Brackett.
Yes. And he is a professor,
Okay.
and it at one of the big universities. Oh, it's just, I don't want to say it because I don't want to say the wrong one, but check that out.
One of the university. Okay. Sure. Thank you for that. Breaking free from the blame game was a huge step in your own life. Blaming yourself for not doing enough. Why is it so easy for us to blame our circumstances? And how do we actually take accountability from beating ourselves up?
Your brain can only hold one thought at a time. It can't hold two consecutive thoughts. So even though you're bombarded with tens of thousands of thoughts a day, you don't choose. The thought you look at, that you hold, you're choosing that one. I picture it like clouds in the sky. Like, you would look outside, you could have thousands of clouds in the sky, you didn't choose them, but what can you choose? Which one you look at. So you picture that like thought, so you look at that thought, and even if you could try it right now, try holding the thought, I am enough and I'm not enough at the same time. Like, if you just close your eyes, you're trying to think, I am enough, I'm not enough, but you hold them consecutively. Can you do it?
No.
No, your brain will ping pong from one to the other. And the thought you hold impacts how you feel. So if I think I am enough, that feels very different emotionally than I am not enough. And then what your brain loves to do is make you right. That's why you're right in every discussion. Because your brain will tell you loads of information to prove that. It's like typing something into Google. It will give you loads of information around what you've typed in. So if you type in, I am not enough, your brain's like, you're right. Remember when you did that one presentation and you totally blew it? Remember in grade 3 and that person laughed at you? Yeah, you're not enough. Opposite is also true. I am enough. Then your brain will say, yeah, you are. Because remember when you fell flat on your face, you got up and you dusted yourself off? Remember Canadian Idol when you were told that you couldn't sing, but you kept singing anyway? Remember when that person said, I don't like you, and it hurt for a bit, but then you decided to believe in yourself and like yourself no matter what? The thought you hold directly impacts how you feel, and then can even impact your behavior of the choice you now make. And think of how long some of us have thought we're not good enough, or I'm dumb, I'm no good at anything, I'm not capable. And when we keep thinking this, our brain now becomes wired to have this as a belief. Now it's really a limiting belief because it's going to limit you. But if you know this to be true, then you know the opposite is also available to you. So what I started to do is I started to write out everything I wanted to believe about myself, even though I didn't. I just started to write it out. I actually have a song called I Am Somebody. In the YouTube music video, I am writing, I am confident, I am determined, and by the end of the music video, you see that it's all over my walls. That's how my walls looked like by the time I was done high school.
Okay.
So I had to really consciously focus and rewire my brain because my brain was so negative. Even though I could smile, it was so much pain and negativity. I was usually very self-critical, self-blame, like you said. And in order to shift that, I had to do a lot of work. And some days felt exhausting and I thought, this isn't even working. But I had to keep, if I was like, hey, this, my end result was respect for myself and others and my dreams, then I have to keep believing I'm enough, even on the hard days. And that little like thought would come, well, you're not enough and I'm gonna give you all the reasons why. No, I am enough. I had to just keep, and for me, I had to keep writing songs, keep writing in my journal. It's been very healing to also help other people because I find when you give to others, it actually gives to yourself.
Yes.
And so I would say to anyone, the journey isn't about being instant, isn't about being easy. It's about being committed because you are worth this work. You are on this earth on purpose. This is not by accident, in my belief. And it's not that it's going to be easy. Emotions are going to be messy. Times are going to be hard. But in that messy middle, keep finding people and books and podcasts and that can remind you of that inner strength. I'm not telling people anything they don't already innately know. I'm just bringing it, saying, turn on the light switch. Right. And that's what I do, even when I've had some down and out moments. And even the past couple weeks, I've been like, oh my gosh, okay, what do I want to do next? I've been doing this for 20 years. Do I want to do a book, a podcast, a show? I want to do it all.
Yes.
And then, but then you can say, how am I going to do that? I don't think I'll be good enough at that. No, Sara. So the work I'm talking about, it's not a destination. It's a constant mindful journey. And even in the dips, you're gonna get that much. I kind of picture like a staircase. It's not like you're kind of like climbing it.
Is there any emotions that you felt back in the days is still bothering you, or something that you are not able to tackle even at this moment?
I picture it like ever evolving journey. So who I was then, I've grown into a different version of myself and will continue to. So there's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that come up that are like, did you really learn that lesson? Here's another thing for you. And there's going to be emotions that sometimes feel permanent. Even though I know they're not, they feel that way. Even for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, is my life always going to look and feel this way? This feels hard right now. This feels so messy. This feels so overwhelming or chaotic. Like, haven't I learned enough that this shouldn't happen? Like, I shouldn't feel, no. It's going to constantly be, no matter who you are. It's an ongoing journey. And my whole thing is to continually learn. So I constantly am still learning, taking courses, because that's part of my commitment to myself, not just in the work I do, just as being a person, a mom, a wife, a sister, a community member, a daughter. So I think you're always an evolution of yourself, like as you go through life.
If every person watching this podcast or listening this podcast somewhere in the world and if they have to apply one strategy starting tomorrow, what that one in order to not suppress their emotions, but to manage it?
I am enough. That would be the first fundamental part of the journey, is believing you are enough and you are worthy of learning and growing. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of success, whatever that means to you. You are worthy of forgiveness. You are worthy of strength, of owning your voice, of setting a boundary. I do believe that that is the fundamental part, because unless you believe you're enough, the emotional part always feels big.
Right.
But if you believe you're enough, then that is the first step to continually learning and growing. And then knowing that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. But it's not okay to go from emotion to choice and hurt yourself or others because you're feeling annoyed or frustrated or anxious or sad. And that when you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and you honor that I'm enough even though I'm feeling this way, because some people question their enoughness when they're feeling an emotion like, oh, I'm not enough because I'm angry, I shouldn't be angry. No, you're allowed to feel angry. Like, imagine if you never felt angry, you wouldn't make a change in your life. You wouldn't be like, no, this is actually, I'm this upset about it, this can't happen again. I need to set this boundary. So again, it's not, the emotions are part of the journey, and that you're enough even when your emotions feel, you're just learning how to navigate them and how to be aware of them, because they're telling you something, they're information. And when you take that moment of a deep breath and saying, I'm enough, even though life feels hard, life feels messy right now, I feel overwhelmed, I feel tired, I feel angry, I feel sad, but I'm still enough. Now you're back on your team. And that's when you can keep reclaiming your confidence. And that's what helps you be resilient and bounce back to move forward from whatever challenge you face.
The last question from myself. After you have built everything, your own company, raising a wonderful son, performing music, sharing the stage with amazing speakers through North Americas and Americas, what does a truly successful day look like to you?
Being with my family. Watching my son play sports. Being able to be there and be present in the moment that I know these moments in life are fleeting. You know, my son's growing up. He's not always going to be 14. He's not always going to be 15. He's not. And those moments to me, being able to sit at the end of the night and have a conversation with my husband about the day, like that to me is success. And I feel it. I feel it as I'm telling you. I look at, I'm like getting, but that's success to me.
Awesome. Well, with that note, we'll end the session today. Thank you very much for being here, Sara. I truly mean that, especially knowing how much you have been doing, how much work you are doing on your own, the struggles you have had in your early days, especially with emotions, and how you navigated through that. Singing "O Canada" for the Blue Jays for 6 years, that's huge as well. And I appreciate everything, and especially your time. So thank you for that.
It was a pleasure to be here. I love your questions.
Thank you.
They're
Thank you
powerful.
very much. Thank you very much for listening the entire podcast. If you gained a single value out of it, please let us know in the comment section and share it with at least one person whom you think might benefit from this. Until then, keep figuring it out, and I'll see you in the next one.